Hi guys. Okay, now that you've gotten your hair done and you've got the details, so let me zoom in. Get this. Okay, so let me zoom in. You can take a look at that kind of detail coming in here. And so remember on your hair as you finished it, like this, don't just come in and do just line after line after line after line for the hair, because at that point it no longer looks like hair. But the suggestion of the texture as you build it up, like I said earlier in the video, creates not only just the suggestion of the hair but also more value or more lights, because there's no reason that you couldn't come back in with a really light pink and pull some of this out with a really fine brush as well. So once you've gotten the hair done, let's move on, and what we need to do now is flesh. And so I'm going to come down here with my croquis, and it's going to work the same way. So let me Command 0 to take a full screen of the image. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to actually do flesh onto the croquis the same way that we did hair, because remember we are on a transparent background. So it makes it a lot easier in terms of not having to think about the lines and staying in the line. There is a method where you can do it and then come in at the end and go to the all other layers, select it, and delete what came out. But then that you have to make certain that all your lines are there. So there's two different ways to do this. This is the one way that I'm teaching you. But yeah, please know that there are other ways. Okay, this is just the method that I prefer, and I think as a beginner, it's a good one to learn because it also helps you kind of understand certain things within Photoshop itself. So I'm going to put this back and come back up to my croquis. And so I'm going to do the same thing that we had done before. Is I'm going to add a layer, and I'm going to do flesh 1, because I'm going to do more than one. And here's what I like to do, like kind of in my arsenal over here, I'll have a light-skinned, medium, and dark, and then those I can kind of play with and turn them on and off as I need, and it's kind of a basis, to kind of run with. So we'll start with light, even if you're doing darker skin or depending on the ethnicity, you still have to kind of start light and then build yourself up, and it's a really easy process to do it this way. So also what I'm going to do is come back up here and turn off my hair, because I want to make certain that I'm getting the head and not just the hair, because we're going to have different little hairdos, right? So flesh 1, hit the option key, and I'm going to clip it to my croquis. Then I'm going to come over here and start looking for a nice cream color to put down as a base. So I'm going to kind of just start here for now, hit OK. Go to my brush, hit B, bracket key to make it larger. I've got an opacity of 40 and 20. Right now I'm going to hit 2 to bring that opacity to 20, and I prefer to start light and then I work myself up. So as you can see now, what's starting to happen is I'm just putting a little warmth on the skin, and come through here. And a little darker. And so when you keep it like 20 and 20, what's going to happen is you can continue to build back up on this. Also, what I'm going to do is I wanted to show you, let me do a little more so you can see it a little more drastically. I'm going to zoom in. And if you notice, when I'm doing this, it is going right over her eyelashes and over the lines that I've drawn. So this is on a normal blending mode. So let's take it to multiply, and there you go. So now this layer is blending in with this layer, and you can see the dark pencil work that I had done underneath. The only thing that we are going to have to do in this is I'm going to have to come back and erase out the whites of the eyes and bring those back out when you're done. So, but that's about it. And so for demo purposes on this, I'll just kind of do this part of the body up here and through here. And my own personal style, like I said, I like to do a little gray work underneath this as well, and then kind of put this on top. Yeah, come through the arm here, put a little shadow, and around the leg. And so you get the idea. And so we can come in and do this. So now what I'm going to do is bring this back up. I'm going to go down a little warmer, a little more orange in base, and maybe a little more gray, and do something along those lines. And I'm going to zoom in again. Please zoom in while you're working, because it really does make it a lot easier for you to see what you're doing. Put a little shadow work here. And pull out those eyes. And here on the temple. And then I'll do a little bit down here. A little through here. It's like contouring, right? And then, like I've talked about before, this through here, the nose and the bridge of the nose through here is made with shadow, not with a dark line that you come in and draw down from your eyebrow down to the nose. I don't get it. I'll never get it. Please don't do it. Do this. Come in this way. Now, once again, maybe I'm going to go a little warmer like this. And so you can see these warm and cool colors. Actually, warm colors advance and cool colors recede. So you actually create shadow, not just with lights and darks, but also with warms and cools. And it makes such a difference when you work this way. So that's why you see me kind of bouncing back and forth between warm flesh tones and cool flesh tones. And then depending on what it is you want, you'll be heavier in one than the other. But you still need to use both. And then I'll come in through here under the neck, and then do a little something like this. And so you notice what you thought was really dark at the beginning here is starting to lighten up as we go. See, so you can zoom out a little and see what's happening here. And you would do this and continue this process throughout the body as you go on. I am also still at a opacity of 20 and 20 and a flow of 20. Now, if you wanted to get heavier, you certainly could. And then let's see, maybe something lighter in here. And then the beauty of this too is that if you feel like you've gotten too dark, you can grab your eraser, and I'm going to do my eraser at 10 and 10, and you can come back in. Now don't do it at 100 and 100, because then this is what's going to happen. You're just going to get a big hole in your head, right? So go back to 10 and 10 or 20 and 10, somewhere down there on the lower end. And then you can lightly and slowly erase things back out if you feel like you need to pull some heavy color off of your flesh. I am now going to kind of come up here to this, and then just lightly add a little pink to the flesh. And let me go back to my brush, make sure it's at 10 and 10, and just a little bit. And not enough to really see, but just a little bit of rosiness that you can have there. And so now at this point, if you wanted to do makeup, you could, but what I usually do is I get my flesh layers done first, and then when I'm done, then I'll come back and have another layer that I would put on top of that flesh layer and do the makeup, because then that way your base croquis and your foundation croquis, you allow yourself different makeup choices and things along those lines. Because if you were just to go in onto this kind of stock croquis that we're making and put all the makeup on it, then what's going to happen is you're stuck with that makeup, and it may not be appropriate for every collection that you're doing. So that, once again, the beauty of Photoshop is layers. So let's say I'm done. I'm not, but let's say I am, just for demo purposes. And let me zoom in. And I'm going to, I've already put my eraser. Now I'm going to do my eraser at 100% opacity and flow. And where's my eraser? Come in here. Try that again. There. And I'm going to erase out, like I said, you have to come back in and kind of get the eyes back out. Okay, so we have this, and so let's say this is light skin. You're going to go with this one. The next one I want to do is a medium flesh tone and a medium skin tone. So then what I can do is I'm just going to hit Command J, And what that does is it duplicates the layer underneath. I need to clip it. And then I'm going to turn off the bottom and name it Flesh 2. And now what I'm going to do is come in and continue the process. So I'm going to come over here back to a nice warm brown and kind of a nice chestnut color, and hit my brush and I'm back at 10-10. So now what I'm going to do with a larger brush, just kind of get an overall just warm wash, really light, as you can see. That I want to keep it light, and then that way I can control it. So have this. Now what I'm going to do is maybe up here, let me go over here, and then I'm going to do the opacity up to 20%. So I just hit 2 and start to do a little shadow work. As you can see what's happening. And the beauty of this too, I mean, going from marker to this, is that you can actually download brushes that look like marker and have that beautiful kind of, I know a lot of people don't like the streakiness of a marker, but it is the nature of the beast, and you know, it actually isn't a bad thing. But if you aren't a fan of it, this certainly makes it a lot easier. And then also too, you can use you know, your filters into your blurs if you need to, if you even want to soften it more. So I've just hit it up to 30%, make my brush really large as I just kind of do an overall, there we go, nice and soft. And now what I'm going to do is come over here with more of a cool brown. I'm going to take my brush back down, take my opacity up here back down to 20, and do some shadow work right around the edges. And make my brush smaller. Oops. And like I said, now I'm going to intentionally maybe let me do 30 and show you, you know, because it's kind of happening right up here. And do some more shadow through here. But now what you can do also is if you go to your filter and you go to blur, and then let's just do a nice Gaussian blur, and you can see here, here's where we are. You can soften, turn the preview back on, and you can get something as soft as that if you would like. So that's kind of up to you as well. Hit OK. And then at this point, what I would probably do is back to my eraser, 10 and 10. Maybe erase out a little bit through here, down to the center of the nose, right on the bridge of the nose. That was too much, so Command Z. There we go. And erase out some of this. And then you get the idea with that as well. And so then, back to my eraser, 0 and 0 to make it 100%. I'm going to zoom in, eraser, make my brush a little smaller. And there we go. And then Command 0, and then you have this. And so then what you can do is duplicate that as well. So Command J, and clip that. And you can continue and continue. And so then as you go along, on this one, you know, then I would turn off this one and then build this one up as well. You know, it's like, well, why can't I do both? I mean, you could. You could turn on medium underneath that one, and it definitely has taken you to a darker skin tone. But I prefer myself to kind of have, you know, a little bit of differentiations between them. You know, so, but that's something. So then you can come back once you've gotten your blush, you can turn your hair back on, and there you have it. So there's your croquis, and then you can play around with different flash, like I said, dark, or you could do something, I could do light, and something along those lines. So now you have options to play with. And then, like I said, what you could do now is add another layer, and I'm going to do makeup. One, and then you zoom in. So with her lovely pink hair, maybe I'll go with something kind of pewtery blue, more periwinkle. So then take bring out the blue of her eyes, right? And so I've got opacity at 30. I'm going to go with 20 and build my makeup up slowly. So now, same thing, what I'm going to do is do a multiply blending mode, so that way it's going to blend with the eyes. I don't want it to go on top of the eyelashes yet, and you can do another layer if you would like. Let me do this, and let me take that up to 20, maybe 30. And like I said, it's blending in underneath. And this is going to be my base work for this, but I just want to do a multiply blending mode while I do this, so it does not cover up my eyebrows or my eyelashes. And so when I'm done with that, let's say I'm going to go up to 40, and I'm going to go a little darker here and make my brush a little smaller. A little darker here, and to bring out the light. Now, if you want to have a little eyeliner, you certainly can. And then we zoom out. So see, at that point you can turn her makeup on and off, and then you have control of it, and you can change it. And then if I wanted to duplicate this, let's say Command J, again, I can make it smokier just by duplicating that layer and letting them come together. So I could do something like that, or duplicate it and have both of them, or I'll multiply, so they're going to blend together, and you get a really nice heavy smoky eye that way. So you have all kind of options. And then the last thing, what I was talking about, is after you do all the makeup, if you wanted to have a layer on top, and call it makeup highlights. Let's do that. What I would do is make sure that I keep this on normal, and then I'm going to come in, zoom on in, and we go up here, go to 20, my brush, let's see, we go up a little lighter, my brush, 40, 30, and you can brighten it a little. And then this is just for that last detail, and then keep it away from the eyelashes because it will start painting on top of them. But if you wanted to kind of have a highlight come in through here, you would do that in normal blending mode right at the end. Let me go up to 50. And maybe go lighter like this, right here in the center. Oops, squeaking, huh? And you can turn that on and off and see that it's subtle, but it makes a difference. And like I said, I'm building mine up slowly. So if you wanted just to come in and do 70 and 50, then you definitely really could just jump in and start getting the highlights that you want. And then, so zoom out, And also too, if you wanted to turn off that second one and then turn off that top one, so you can play around with different makeups. And so you would do the same thing for lips. So let's say, let me just sample her hair color. Do something in here, and then come up for her lips. I'm gonna do something really subtle, and make up one. And you could even get to where you have eye makeup, layers for eye makeup, layers for cheeks, layers for lips, and then you can turn them on and off as you want. This is a little, oops, I'm still too dark, so I'm gonna go to 20, 20. Sorry, I have still had it up from when I was doing the eyeshadow. And then, like I said, but you know, I always go ahead, as you can see in mine, I already have a little bit of a shadow, a gray shadow on my croquis when I make them anyway. And then let me go up to 40, make it a little darker right at the edge, so we can make the center of the lip more prominent and stand out, a little poutier, and then come down here, grab a darker color, and then just kind of finish it off that way. And Command 0, and there you go. So I think she has too much makeup on, so I am going to undo that one, and you have it. So good luck, and can't wait to see them.